I probably knew him about 10 years. And he was always the nicest, sweetest man. And he knew everybody, and he spoke to everybody. And there were some people that he knew that I didn't even know, and I thought I knew everybody. So that's kind of the way I got to know him.
I was trying to think, how did I meet David? When did that happen? And I really can't remember. It just seems like he was always there. I'm not from this area. I moved here in the early 90s. My job brought me to the Friends Lab on the other side campus here. And ran that office for 20 years. And I joined the symphony because I heard him play in the park one day, and they didn't have a second bassoonist. And I said, hey, I play bassoon. And signed up and tried out and doing the symphony ever since. Not remembering exactly when I met David, I know he has worked tirelessly with the board and as president as well, I believe. And being a former president 2 years in a row, it's a lot of work. And you could tell he really loved what he was doing.
We were Cub Scouts together, and our fathers were the Cub Scout masters. And David and I kind of met about that time. He had come here from Rhode Island. That's where his mother was from, and his dad had been up there in the Navy, and they moved back home to the Shoals.
I knew David before I took this job. I actually grew up going to church with David's dad. I was a little kid, and I remember his dad looked just like Santa Claus, and I would run up after church on Sunday mornings and pick him up, or he would pick me up rather. And then David's sister Debbie taught my brother in school, and so we were our families were around each other, and being from Muscle Shoals, I just was aware of David. But when I took this job, I remember David called me pretty immediately afterwards, and he said, Jeremy, you have my full support. And I really did. Ever since that time he called, anytime that I called him, anytime I needed anything, David was right there for me.
The nicest thing that David ever did was the thing with my father. My father was getting on up in age, and he started using a walker. And we would go to the basketball games, and the three of us would actually sit together. And after the game, my dad, even though he was in pretty good shape, and most people knew Adolph pretty well, but he had a hard time getting around with the walker. And David was the only person that would ever ask me, do you need help with your dad? And I said, yes, it would be great. And he said, why don't you go get the car, and I'll get your dad out to the car. So that touched my heart and made me ingrained, with David.
I heard a sermon at church one day, and it said,